subscribe to my channel.
It was Christmas Eve, and the streets were filled with festive laughter and cheer. But in a quiet corner of the city, a mysterious package was left at the doorstep of a young woman named Lisa. The package had no sender information, just a note. Open it. Merry Christmas. Lisa lived alone in her apartment. This Christmas she chose to stay away from her family, preferring a quiet holiday. When she found the package at her door, she hesitated but eventually brought it inside. The packaging was unusually beautiful, wrapped with a red ribbon and a golden bell that jingled softly. Lisa paused for a moment but decided to open it. Inside was an antique music box with intricate Christmas patterns carved into its lid. When she wound it up, a deep and eerie melody began to play. Lisa felt uneasy, but convinced herself it must be a surprise gift from a friend. That night, Lisa fell asleep on her couch. She dreamed of being trapped in endless darkness while whispers echoed around her.
Did you receive my gift?
She woke up in a panic and noticed the music box was still spinning, its melody sounding even more unsettling. Instinctively, she checked her door and saw marks, as if someone had tampered with the lock. Suddenly, the clock struck midnight, and a loud knock came at the door. Lisa held her breath and peeked through the peephole. Outside stood a man dressed as Santa Claus, his face hidden in the shadows of his hat.
I've come to take back my gift,
he said in a low, chilling voice. Overwhelmed by fear, Lisa quickly locked the door and tried to call the police. But all she could hear was static on the line, followed by her own voice.
You can't escape.
Her body trembled as she inspected the music box more closely. Underneath, she found a note that read, "You have been chosen by the spirit of luck." Her mind flashed back to news reports about women living alone who had gone missing recently, with mysterious packages found outside their doors. Her heart raced as she realized she was caught in a deadly trap. Lisa frantically searched for a weapon, but found herself frozen with fear as the lights flickered on and off. The knocking at the door grew louder and more frenzied. Suddenly, she heard a click, and the door began to creak open. Lisa screamed and ran to her bedroom, barricading the door with furniture. Outside, the man's voice taunted, "Don't be scared! Santa's here to take you away!" Heavy thuds followed as he tried to break the door down. Lisa steadied herself and opened a large window, planning her escape. Just as the door burst open, the man grabbed her hair and arm. Summoning all her strength, Lisa lunged forward, wrapping her arms around his waist and propelling both of them toward the window. The man was caught off guard, and in his moment of confusion, Lisa dragged him with her as they plunged out of the fourth-floor window, landing heavily on the bushes below. The commotion drew the attention of passers-by, who quickly called the police in a panic. The fake Santa was arrested, and Lisa was rushed to the hospital. Despite suffering a few fractures, she had no life-threatening injuries. However, the psychological scars ran deep. She began having recurring nightmares and required therapy to recover. During police interrogation, the fake Santa confessed to robbing and assaulting 6 women living alone over the past few weeks. Lisa was the only one who managed to escape. Investigators discovered the man had used signal jamming devices to disable communication in his victims' apartments, isolating them and creating an atmosphere of fear. This method became crucial evidence in his prosecution. Months later, Lisa moved out of her apartment and into a shared home with friends. She vowed never to spend the holidays alone again. The music box remained in police custody, but on quiet nights, Lisa could still faintly hear its haunting melody, as if the terror of that Christmas Eve had never truly ended. A small remote northern town was buried under a fierce snowstorm as Christmas approached. Everyone stayed in their warm homes, preparing for the holiday, but the town's post office suddenly started making strange noises. It had been deserted for years, but locals said mysterious packages appeared there every Christmas Eve, packages that shouldn't exist. Jason, the town's mailman, had to store the last batch of Christmas packages at the post office because of the storm. He planned to deliver them when the weather improved. As he locked the door, he heard rapid knocking coming from deep inside the hall. "Who would be here in this weather?" Jason muttered. He stepped inside and found a pile of strange envelopes on the central table. Each envelope had a recipient's name written in bright red ink. But these names, aren't these people dead? Jason recognized several of them, townsfolk who had died in accidents over the past few years. A shiver ran down his spine, but he chose not to touch the envelopes. Quickly, he locked the post office door and went home. That night, the snowstorm raged on. Jason sat by the fireplace, trying to steady his nerves, but the names on the envelopes echoed in his mind. He double-checked all the doors and windows, but then there was a knock at the door. He peered through the peephole but saw only white snow outside. No sign of anyone. "Must be the wind," he whispered to himself. But the knocking came again, louder and more urgent. Gathering his courage, Jason opened the door. There was no one there, only a package lying on the ground. The handwriting matched the envelopes at the post office, and the label read, "For Jason." Jason didn't dare open the package, but it began to tremble slightly, as if alive. Panicking, he threw it into the fireplace, but the flames didn't burn it. Instead, the entire room plunged into darkness. In the silence, a whisper crept into his ears.
Jason, it's time to deliver the letters.
Jason frantically searched for his flashlight. When he turned it on, the beam lit up the living room mirror. Reflected in the mirror was a frozen figure, its face blurred, holding a letter. Slowly, the figure wrote on the frosty surface,
"Open it, or everyone will die because of you."
Shaking with fear, Jason finally opened the package. Inside was a letter in an old mailman's hat. The letter read, "Finish the unfinished mission." Jason realized these were undelivered letters, and their recipients were the dead. He had to deliver them, or their restless spirits would never find peace. In the middle of the snowstorm, Jason put on the mailman's hat, slung the mailbag over his shoulder, and walked toward the town's cemetery. Each letter he delivered seemed to calm the raging storm around him. When Jason placed the final letter, dawn finally broke. But his body was frozen solid, his face wearing a strange, peaceful smile. The next day, the townsfolk found Jason's lifeless body in the cemetery. In his hand, he clutched one last undelivered letter. Since then, strange noises echo from the old post office every Christmas Eve, as if someone is sorting mail. And it's said that the spirits of those who never received their letters return in the storm, searching for a new mail carrier.